Welcome to the Going Somewhere podcast, a podcast for anyone who finds themselves in the ambiguous adventure of young adulthood. A season marked by uncertainty, change, love, heartbreak, and a whole lot of big decisions. Sit down with me for some real and raw conversations with some incredible people as we dig into what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus in this beautiful yet complicated season of life. If this podcast helps you in any way, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with friends. Be sure to join the conversation on Instagram by following goingsomewhere.podcast. We're all going somewhere. We might as well go there together. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Going Somewhere podcast. Today I am joined by my friend, Ryan Kockelman.
Hey.
How are we doing?
We're doing good. We're doing really good. School year is coming to a close and we're looking forward to summer for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yes, I can count thousands, and I'm just grateful that I'm not in my hometown of Bismarck where they're getting dumped with snow right now.
Yes.
Those of you listening in other places in the country, it's April, 13th, 14th right now, and North Dakota's just getting dumped on snow, like feet of snow. So
feet.
My brother,
meters for those listening in other countries.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We have people in Sweden, Taiwan.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Meters, man. That's crazy.
Please tell us. Hey, we'd love to hear where you're listening from.
100% actually.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been fun to see where people are coming from. So snow here, 6-foot drift in my brother's yard. So kind of crazy, not cool, but
yeah, it's great to be on a podcast with you again, Steven, and the mics on this one are actually plugged in as opposed to the one we made where I was the tech guy and it was all for show. Because I don't know what I'm doing.
That might have been one of my favorite things. So that was called the Everyday Adventure Show.
Everyday Adventure Show.
We did it for
shout out to Nathan Currier.
We did it for about a semester.
Yep.
We wanted to create a resource for students. It was really fun.
It was.
But the one thing, I bought this really cheap mic, and I just bought one, and it added no value.
No.
And so we just used the phone.
Yep.
The phone audio.
I propped a voice memo up on the table, and then I just had to sync it up with the other audio, and then that was it.
Yeah, I've taken some steps forward in my...
Honestly, when I walked in and I was like, there's a backdrop.
Yeah, this is new. This is new. Northview Church.
Wow.
They let us use it for the podcast.
You guys have a plant. You're environmentally friendly.
Absolutely. We do what we can here on the Going Somewhere podcast.
We're producing our own oxygen for the room. We're not using the church's oxygen. That's beautiful.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so it's fun. My memory of that experience, I don't even know if we want to call it a podcast, but it was how uptight I was. We would try to do things in one take,
yes.
And I would get so upset. I know I was talking to Megan, and she's like, I just remember how stressed you made Nathan and Ryan when you would do those videos.
I can tell you were pretty uptight about that. But there was one day I remember, like, we got through. It took us like 2 times because something got messed up in the first 2 takes. Then we did it. We got there's probably like 2 minutes left. And I walk back to the camera, and the camera had just stopped recording. And I remember just staring. I remember I think I probably waited a full 60 seconds because I was literally just I don't want to tell him, man. We've done so much. I don't want to just be like, hey guys. So the camera just wasn't on.
I remember that being one of our better takes too. I remember being stressed about it, and then we got this awesome take, and then you're like, yeah, I didn't get it
because the camera was on. Everything was on when we started, and then I don't remember what happened.
I forgive you, and I hope on this podcast in front of all these people, you can forgive me for just
Steven, I forgive you 100%.
Okay.
I 100% forgive you.
Okay.
It's a funny memory now.
Now I hope you just get your lines right for this podcast.
I've been studying them all night.
You've been studying your conversational lines. Yes. No, I'm pumped to have you on here. I know you just add value to my life, and you add value to everybody's life that you touch. And I got to know you when you were an intern I got to know you as a student. Then you were an intern in my last year on staff with Chi Alpha, the college ministry, and now you've been serving on that staff. So what are you doing? Tell us a little bit about Ryan Kockelman.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Shakopee, Minnesota. First job was Valley Fair. Worked as a game operator, which is a fancy word for carny, but I was good at it, you know.
You've always given me the carny vibe.
Well, that was my first. It was my first ever job. I broke myself into the economy that way. Yeah, went to NDSU, graduated 2018. It was when I was a sophomore that I really felt the call to ministry. That I became a small group leader with Chi Alpha, and I was just like, "This is it. Like, this is what I love doing." Was going through the internship at NDSU, and it was in October of that year that I started wanting to go help with Valley City, because 2 years before that, there were 2 interns that went and planted Valley City Chi Alpha. And then my roommate, first year intern at that time, Nathan Courier, took it over.
Yes.
And then so in October that year, I was just like, Nathan needs help. I just kind of have a big passion of like filling needs. If there's like a void, I'm like, I can take up space, you know, I can fill that, you know? And so I started going and helping with him, and I just really loved the people out there. And then Nathan was going to transition out, and I was like, I'm sticking around. Like, this is what I want to do. Met my now wife, now the mother of my son, that year. We got married in 2020, and I've been at Valley City. This is our 3rd year doing Chi Alpha out there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And your wife is amazing.
She is
Britta
so good.
is amazing.
Britta, shout out to Britta. She is so great.
Shout out Britta.
Shout out Britta.
Shout out baby Kockelman.
Shout out to baby Kockelman. We're almost in the 3rd trimester. Baby's
Also, when
due
you
in
say
July.
that she is the mother, your unborn child.
Yeah, my unborn son.
So
Mother of
it's
my
not
unborn.
like we haven't picked a name yet. You know,
That would be.
I don't know why I said we.
That would be
I'm a part of that.
Steven is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Steven's been a big part of that.
No, but it's so fun. I mean, one, to just see you guys, you know, step into your ministry together, and just you guys have worked through that in different ways. And I think we're pretty similar, you know, my experience and Taylor's experience in campus ministry as well. But just seeing what God's done at Valley City, you know, I know, what was it, 4 years ago, it was just kind of like, our group is too healthy to not have an expression for our students to be a part of God doing this on another campus. And so, you know, I look back at it, and like, Andrew and Bree are the best sports, and I love them to death.
Yeah.
And we just sent them, you know, like, hey guys, just go plant a Chi Alpha.
Yep.
What can that look like? But they did so with just such a heart for discipleship, just a heart for loving those core students that have served throughout, you know. And so it's fun to see what Nathan, now you know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
God's been moving. I know, how many students did you guys bring to the winter conference this year?
Oh, I think maybe like 15.
That's so cool.
15 at Salt this year, and like that's like half the Chi Alpha right there.
Yeah.
And so like even just having the buy-in that we have now is just really cool. And it's just been, I think it's been healthy having that consistency now, because like,
yes,
ever since, and this is, of course, this is nothing, like, I'm not like making a statement, but like, you know, like for Bree and Andrew, like to be there for a year, then Nathan to be there for a year, and then they had to go, they didn't have to, but like God called them into other things, and God called them, and just that constant transition. But then also like the place that Chi Alpha met changed every single year, because we were still trying to figure that out.
Right.
And so like the fact that it's like this year I'm there, we're in the same room doing the same stuff. And granted, also one of the big transition years was because 2020, because, you know, everything shut down.
Yeah.
And so like, it's like, this is like the first time that Valley City has been able, Chi Alpha has been able to have like consistency, which is like just huge in and of itself.
For sure. Well, and just seeing the provision of God through that, you know, I feel
100%.
like we were being, as a ministry, we were being obedient to do it. But also, we kind of went into it not thinking Andrew and Bree would just stay there forever, either one of them. We just knew like I was going to carry this, and there were students on that campus that needed somebody to tell them about Jesus and just continue to disciple them. And, you know, so it's fun to see what God's done there.
And like Bree and Andrew and Nathan are like 3 of the most like relational,
yes,
just like amazing relational people. And
Absolutely.
so it's like you can see years later where like the students now wouldn't even know who they are, like the effects on Valley City culture from year one, when it was not on campus, it was in a house, from Bree and Andrew. So
for sure. Oh yeah. 100% proud of those guys. Proud of you. What have been some of the challenges for you? I mean, you're obviously in this young adult phase, just kind of coming out of college, obviously going into college ministry. There's a different flair to it, or a different feel to it, but what's that been like for you?
It feels like anticlimactic honestly, in a lot of ways. Like, you know, you turn 18 and it's like, cool, see you later. Like, you can vote now. It's like, oh, fun. Okay. Like, great. Like, at least when you're 16, it was like, you can drive, you know. I remember the first time I ever drove a car alone, I felt like I was going to get arrested because I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this by myself. But then it's like, you know, you graduate and it's like, even like the day after you graduate, it's kind of like I don't feel like, you know, in a video game, you level up and your guy gets more jacked. It's like, I didn't look any different the day after that. I didn't feel any smarter. I didn't feel any whatever. I didn't get any adds to my stats. But it's just kind of there. And so honestly, one of the things I can think about is like, sometimes there are things like you watch movies and movies have all these big moments for what things look like. Yeah. And it's like real life sometimes is kind of anticlimactic, or at least in the way that you feel. Like, you don't feel different, but what's going on is still cool. I think of this is like, even when I got married, it was like the day that I was getting married, like I was like hanging out with my roommates in the morning. It was a COVID wedding, so it was like
I watched online.
You watched online, yeah. You can still watch it online today
from New Jersey. You know, it's great. Yeah. We dressed up. It was fun.
I appreciate that.
Kinsley loved going to a wedding in a living room, so
not having to go anywhere. But it was like, so that obviously was like super low stress because it was like there's no big party or whatever. But like the day of, like I was like just super relaxed, just like, yeah, we're getting married. Like we did the first look, and I remember like thinking I was disappointing Britta so much because all the first look videos you see are of this guy turning around and then just like collapsing to his knees, just like, you're the most beautiful. Yeah. And I remember being like, wow. Like I felt like we were dressing up. Like I was like, wow, like you look great. But I was like, I felt like we were just like doing it, just like dressing up. And then I was walking down the aisle with my parents, and they're like saying like the nicest things they've ever said to me, like in this moment,
whispering in your
and
ear.
Then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, like, and that's when all of a sudden it hit me. I'm getting married like right now, and I'm like walking back down, get my mother-in-law, and then I like couldn't even talk to her because I was like just trying to hold it in, and then the doors open and there she was, and that's when I was like, oh my goodness, like this is happening. So it's just so interesting. Like there are some things that don't feel the way that you think it will feel, and it like hits you sometimes in waves. But it's kind of just embracing that and rolling with that and being like, just because some things don't look or feel like you expect them to be doesn't mean it's not like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I feel like expectations just in every season, but especially in the young adult years, it can mess with you quite a bit because I think there's such like a sample size around you. You know, you have these tests all around you of your classmates, people that you went to school with. And so you see these paths that you assume are right. And I think for the most part, there's kind of like that natural path of you get the job, you get, you know, in our culture, our like area, like married soon after college. And I think when you don't hit those landmarks, there can be a lot of pain and a lot of like sadness, or just when the expectations are not there. Yeah. How do you personally deal with that discouragement, or how have you kind of walked through that in your life?
I mean, you have to take it back to Jesus every time, of just really being like, you starting out with like real gratitude of like, okay, what is it that we actually do have? Yeah. And it's like, okay, my biggest issue is like fill in the blank. And it's like, there are people whose lives are so much more messed up than mine. And even like doing ministry, like I know like there are students that will tell you stuff that will just absolutely floor you. And it's just like, wow, Jesus, I thank you for the dad that I have, because I'm hearing what this person has gone through. And so walking through that disappointment, and just being able to be honest. I mean, it's really great that I have like Britta to like run through things with, and just be like, I was really disappointed by this, or like, this isn't great. And like, I have her to run through that, and to be able to either like be disappointed with me, which is kind of like, you know, you feel better when it's like someone else is like, yeah, that kind of was a bit of a bummer. But also someone to really be like, hey man, like things are great. Yeah. Right. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Let's have some ice cream. You know, like ice cream is good for all situations, both good and bad.
Well, I think, just the biblical premise of joy, you know, that consider it pure joy when you face trials, you know, and like obviously there's so much more to that, but you know, just that idea that joy doesn't replace the bad things and the missing things and the sad things, but it comes alongside and allows us to experience the joy of Jesus and the purpose of Jesus in those trial periods and missed expectations or whatever the case is. Like, I think that's a beautiful thing but a difficult thing in the moment. You know, I think there can be expectations with relationships, with career path, with, you know, friendships. I know that's something that even just since starting the podcast, one of the questions I get, or people will reach out to me saying like, I was so relationally connected in college, and now all of a sudden, even when I stayed in the same place, like even when I didn't leave my initial well-connected community itself, I feel disconnected. I feel, because I'm in a different season, because I'm working 9 to 5, like I don't have those normal, you know, things. And then it's like loneliness sets in, and really disappointment and hurt and bitterness towards people. And I think that's a reality, but it's not where God wants to leave us either, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That was a huge thing. And Britt and I we talked about that a lot in the first few months of marriage, of like walking through that transition. And granted, we had the added stress of like everything shut down at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's one of the things I tell all of my, like all the seniors that are graduating, of like, just so you know, friends don't just show up anymore. Right. You won't just meet your friends in class.
Yeah.
Like life doesn't just happen to you anymore. And even thinking about like the way that we live, like, you know, in our apartment, it's like, there are people in my apartment. We've lived there for 2 years now. There's still people I see where I'm like, I'll meet them in an elevator and be like, how long have you lived here? Like 10 years. I'm like, I never saw you. Or if I did see you, you like avoided eye contact with me like immediately because we're just like, and I can't say I didn't do the same thing sometimes, because we're just like, I'm just trying to get to my destination. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. And we can do that so easy in our life. So
one thing too, something I've learned is just like, I think we want to have every friend we've had to be a friend for a lifetime. And I think we can put effort and intentionality into making that a reality for a lot of friendships. But I think there's other friendships that are just friendships for a reason, for a season, you know, and I think there's just a capacity level. Like I can't love all the people I've loved along the way the same. And I think people have come in and out of that, but it's not because I love them less, or it's not because I don't care about them anymore. And I can't look at somebody else. Like I have a really good friend that we grew up together. He lives and works in a different city now. We talk on the phone a couple times a year. We see each other maybe once a year, and we try to treat it like it's how it's always been, in the sense of it's a season now. Like we don't hold ourselves to that expectation of being the same friends that we were, but I had to work through that for a while, and we've talked through that and stuff. But I just think that sometimes it's like a lack of, I just need to go to this person, have the conversation, let them know how I feel, and then let's move forward together from there. Yeah. Because usually it's not a rejection. Usually it's not I just don't like you anymore. It's just life has changed. Our paths don't bump in as frequently. So just there's a distance.
They moved to Kentucky. Yeah. He moved to Arizona. It's like, you know, here's something. One time I decided, I was like, I'm just going to start deleting contacts in my phone, because I was like, I have 1,500 contacts in my phone at one point. Yeah. And I was just like, this is just taking up space. And just, it was so weird to start doing that, because I kept like, this person would pop up and I'd be like, well, I don't know if I want to delete that, because what if someday I want to like reach out and talk to them again? And it was like, you haven't talked to this person for 9 years. Right. And they were also like an acquaintance. Like, this is an acquaintance you had from 9 years ago. Like, are you really going to do that?
For sure.
And it's not just, and it's just like, it was just like, I remember like feeling that in a way of like, I'm having difficulty trying to connect with people in the city I live in, and then trying to do stuff in Valley City. And now I'm concerned about wanting to create community in another state and like trying to keep, and it's like, we don't always have the capacity for all of that. And I really try to encourage other people, but like telling myself the same thing of like really investing in community that's around me, because that is really difficult in and of itself. Yeah. So
we've also just, you know, we moved away and then came back. So there's like an inevitable kind of disconnect. And so when we came back, we decided, let's just be really intentional, because that was the one thing that just, quite honestly, like I felt like I was making appearances with my friends, like even my closest friends, the guys that we were in each other's weddings, we lived together, like my best friends. Like I felt like I had them on a month rotation of like, all right, now I have the capacity to get lunch with you. So we just really said like, let's just kind of tighten our circle, not to exclude others, but to tighten our like closest, bestest friends to just really do life with them, to really show up unexpected at their house, to help paint. I mean, I've painted other people's houses. They painted our house, like just to take care of kids for 3 hours when they just need to run an errand or a doctor's appointment. Like just to have those few friends. Like I was with, you know, 2 of my best friends last week, twice in a 2 or 3 day period of time, just because like, that's just where we're at. Yet I'm constantly trying to create space for more friends and just welcoming people in our home for meals. We eat meals together as a family. We try 7 nights a week. Usually it ends up being 6. You know, Taylor and I like to do things with friends separately. And so it's just like, why not a night or two, just invite somebody else, pull up another place at the table. We just say like, just be ready for chaos, because that's what 2 toddlers is like. Brandon and Megan Locke were over the other night, and
fun.
And Megan put Kinsley to sleep, or she tried. Kinsley still needed dad to come in. That's her, you know, it's her thing right now. But you know, it's just like so cool when you can have that type of relationship. That's what I felt like I was missing, and now have. Yet when I was in New Jersey, one of the things that I did was I created a spreadsheet. You know me well enough to know like my organizational side. And I just put friends on that spreadsheet, and then I just kept track of like when I was texting them, when I was calling them, when I was seeing them in person. And it was an unattainable like goal of trying to keep up with everybody how I originally wrote on my spreadsheet, but it helped me do better. Like it helped me, like I would even just like would look through it when I was praying, like just praying for those friends, even though I might not have talked to them in 6 months. Like I love them. It's just different, you know? And so I think friendships are very difficult to navigate in this season of life, for sure.
100%. And it's like, also being okay. I think a big challenge for me is like being okay with like things are not as good as I want them to be.
Okay. Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
But that's like, okay, because I look at my parents and I was like, my parents have a house. My parents have 3 kids. My parents are doing this. And it's like, yeah, and they're 50.
Yeah. And their house was like $80,000 when they bought it.
Yeah. And like, honestly, like I can look at my parents and see where they are now and be like, I want to be there. Or seeing the way they handled stuff. And like now, like getting ready to like with Britta, like being pregnant and like really like you always think about having it. Well, I always thought about having like kids one day. Like I was always a thought in my head. But now that it's actually like, here, just like really realizing like, did my dad feel this way too? Kind of like my dad, as far as I knew when I was a kid, he always knew what to do. Always.
Right.
Like there was never any money problems. My dad knew the answers to every single thing. Like he never worried about anything. And now I'm like, okay, I'm about to have a baby. And when he's probably going to look at me the same way. Like he's probably going to look at me also and be like, dude, dad knows everything. Dad is never worried. Dad is not whatever. And I'm going to be like, I'm making it up. I'm making it up, son. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're just going to go out and do it.
For sure. That's a real thing to compare to your parents. That was something that I was kind of caught off guard, you know, a few years ago, was just like, because I grew up a certain way, you know, I grew up in my parents' 3rd or 4th home since when we had kids. Yeah. And, you know, the lifestyle that they had built towards and saved towards and stuff, like it was an unrealistic comparison, because I would go like, oh, I would really love to be in a place like that or be able to do the things that my parents do. I'm like, yeah, but they worked at that for 40 more years than I have to this point. You know, so, but I think that's like part of something that I'm really passionate about too, and I know we've talked about in the past, is what if we were to look at, you know, our life now and go, who am I becoming? You know, like who is 40-year-old Ryan? And what am I doing today to walk towards that? Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit? And
yeah, there's a book I read recently called Live No Lies, John Mark Comer.
Beautiful book, yes.
Beautiful book. Rocked my world. And one of the things that they write about in there, like the concept of the book, is like how much, like in the very beginning, the devil tricked everybody. devil tricked Adam and Eve into sin by lying to them.
Mm-hmm.
You won't die if you eat this. And they believed him, and they acted on that lie, and now here we are. And so it's like, how many of the things that we choose to live our lives by are things that are not true that we act upon? And like, you can do this one more time and it won't affect you that bad. You can pursue this relationship and it'll actually be fine for you.
Yeah.
When you know, like, all of your friends are like, bro, don't do it. Like, you know, this is bad for you. You know, this has always been bad for you. Oh no, but this time it'll be fine. And we believe that lie. And one of the things that the book got into was also talking about the idea of like flipping the reverse. Like, you know, everything that you do has some kind of an effect on you. And it's like just trending in a different direction. Bob Goff, I heard him once talking about when he was talking about how do we follow Jesus and how do we continue to follow him. And he talked about how the first people who landed on the moon navigated their way to the moon, because they were like, how did you like land and how did you navigate it? Because no one had ever done it before. And they just said, we just tried to keep the moon in the window. Like, we had a window in the front and we just tried to keep the moon in it. And so it's like, for our lives, like, I think it's helpful for even when it's like things are not the way I want them to be now, but is the moon still in the window? Am I still trending in that direction? Do I want to be a really like angry and bitter person? Like, do I want to be an angry and bitter person in 20 years? Or do I want to be like Pastor Brad and just be like, man, I'll walk into Brad's office all stressed out about something, and within 5 minutes, he has like disarmed me. Like, he has taken me from like DEFCON 1, I think that's right, to like, dude, it's a sunny day, go for a walk. And just being able to do that. And I'm like, that only happens from like compounding and trying to really focus on that, noticing those things that aren't true and really trying to live like it is. You know what? Maybe I don't have the place with relationships I want to right now, but are we like trying? Yeah. Are we trying and are we investing? Because I don't, like, in 14 years, I'll be 40 years old and I don't want to just get there and be all like, oh, you know, like, I wanted this to happen. It just never did. It's like, I want to live like I want to be investing in people, because if I'm doing it now, I'll be doing it later. If I'm not doing it now and saying I'll do it later, why do I think that'll happen? If I don't want to do it now, if I won't do it later either.
Well, I think, just that concept even of just living with the end in mind. You know, I think, you know, we've done this thing where we have students write their eulogies, and I know that sounds creepy. You know?
It's morbid.
Sometimes it's probably one of my favorite things, because when we take time to think about, like, a eulogy obviously is the people standing at your funeral, you know, saying what you meant to them, saying who you were to them. And I think when you put yourself in those people's shoes, when you put yourself in your future wife's shoes or your kids' shoes or your, you know, neighbor's shoes, whoever it is, and then you write from their perspective of, this is what they meant to me, this is who they were, this is how they pointed me towards Jesus, this is how my dad, you know, treated me when I did something wrong. Like, when you actually start to think about those things, obviously it paints this picture of like the person I want to become. Like, that's, for me, it's like the first step. Write your eulogy. Write it from a few different people's perspective. Who, you know, am I that day? Like, who am I to you? The ideal story that's told. And then I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but then start living that story. You know, there's intentional steps that you can take today to have that story told. And obviously God's going to adjust that along the way. Like, the things that I would have wanted somebody to say about me when I was 25 are different than the things that I'm thinking about when I'm 31. Like, the relationship now that I have with my kids has changed what I ever wanted, like, my kids to say about me someday. But that's something I think about often. It's just like that my dad, you know, I don't know why it comes to me all the time, but when my kids screw up someday, when they're 18, 17, 19, whatever, I don't want them to have to keep that a secret from me. That's something that Taylor and I talk about a lot. Like, I don't, and that doesn't mean I just want to be like the cool dad that's like, yeah, whatever, man, it's so cool, you know. But I want them to be able to, and I knew somebody like this. I talked to their parents. They had a really kind of rough, you know, teenage into college stretch, and the parents just said our primary goal was being close enough that when they were ready to come back, we were there and facing them.
Yeah.
And I think that's like my heart. So it's kind of like, well, how do I deal with discipline now? How do I deal with a tantrum now? Do I make her feel like she should hide any anger from me?
Yeah.
Or do I welcome that and help her process that, and I do it right and I do it wrong, but I think the just consciousness of that, and like the idea of living with the end in mind, like the story I want told and the person that I'm becoming. And then when you just say, all right, Holy Spirit, do what only you can do in my life,
Yeah. Yeah. The guy I heard say this, it was Jeff Foxworthy of all people. And he said,
shout out Jeff Foxworthy.
Shout out Jeff Foxworthy.
First time on the podcast,
Yes. I don't know what, it was at some Christian conference. And he said, anxiety is imagining your future and God is not in it. And it's like, if we're thinking about like the end in mind and I'm going towards that. And I think one of the things I think of is like, I want my story to be consistent across everybody. Like, I don't want, if people are going to say nice things about me at my funeral, I don't want to be that guy in the back who's just like, nope, that guy was a jerk. That guy was so mean to me.
Right.
And it's just about that consistency. And so, but it's like, I can think about like some relationships where it's like, maybe there was some relationship breakdown, or I look and see like, man, I'm way less lazy than I used to be, but man, like there are some times where it's like, I'm just wasting time. Listen to Pastor Brad's episode, like just yesterday, and literally when he was just like, what would you tell your younger self, Brad? And he was like, don't waste so much time. I feel like he was talking. I paused the episode and I was just like, oh my goodness,
that's so
stop
funny.
wasting so much time. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm wasting time. But it's like then being like, okay, but Jesus is like walking with me through that. Like Jesus has taken so much junk out of my life from when I was even 18. And so if he did that then, like, why is he just going to give up now? Like he cares more about Britta. He cares more about our unborn son and any children that come after him. And he cares way more about the people around me. And he cares way more about me than just to allow us to keep going as we are without being like, hey man, come over here. Like, let me heal you.
Yeah.
Let me push you further in this thing that you're doing well. Let me get that thing out of you that we both want out of you. I just want it out of you more.
Right. When I think aligning those dreams and visions with God, I think I've spent a lot of time setting goals and writing out dreams and stuff. And not that they were disconnected from God, but like, I think I have those human desires of like, obviously I want my kids to, be kind. And like, I want, my neighbors to enjoy the relationship that we have, that they would say that we cared. And all those things do align with what God desires. So like aligning them, but also that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned too, is that when you fully trust in God, when you are walking in step with him, oftentimes you don't know where it's headed. And you don't, again, it always comes back to the name of this podcast in this season of my life, and like going somewhere like Abraham, go to the place that I will show you. And I think for us, we've had a lot of, detours and things that maybe we expected at a certain point, or places we thought we would be, or things we thought we'd do that isn't the case. And we're more than happy about it. It's just, okay, God has, like, many are the plans of the man's heart, but the purpose of the Lord prevails. And I've talked about this before, of like, I want a purpose prevailing type of life, like that God's purpose. And I think in order for his purpose to supersede our plans, we have to allow him to supersede us,
Ooh.
We have to put him first, and like truly first, like not just, I put God first, or it's in my, it's the first thing in my Twitter bio or Instagram bio.
Yeah.
But, and that's like a daily thing that you pursue. But I feel like for you, something I've noticed in you is just like your desire to, live like Jesus, and to like, I've seen you in the last 3 years, even just take a look at even just the books that we're having, in you now lead, or a lot of the classes with the CMITs, the interns for Chi Alpha, and just the books that you've started to do. It's a lot more like intimacy with Jesus, to look like Jesus, to live like Jesus, to do the things that he did. And I see that in your life. And I think when you aim at that, like God will do incredible things through your life.
Yeah. And that's the hope, because, you know, Jesus says that I'm the true vine. My dad said this. Every time I talk to my dad, it's like I always feel like we talk about some pleasantries for like a few minutes, and then he's like, "Yeah, I was thinking about this thing," or "I was thinking about this thing," and then next thing you know, he's like saying stuff. Where I'm like, "Dad, that was profound." Like I'm gonna go chew on that for like a few weeks now. But he's talking about Jesus. Jesus is the true vine. It's like, I'm the true. Jesus is the true vine. We're the branches. And he says, apart from me, you can do nothing. And my dad was just like, so why do I try to do anything without him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why aren't I conscious all the time? He's like, I really wish that, you know, at this point, if we were trying to figure out bills, that I just for like 10 seconds, I was just like, hey, Jesus, we're going to work on bills right now. Like, will you help me? Like, calm me down, give me wisdom, and then just do it. Like, prayer doesn't need to be a 30-minute event with synthesizers and with like pads and whatever, but just doing it, or even just being conscious that God is with us. And I was just like, think about that all the time. Like, we did an assignment like that once when I was intern with you. We were doing a Celtic way of evangelism, how like the Celtic people way back when had like prayers for everything.
Yes.
Like for when you were washing your hands, when you were milking your cow, just like, here's a prayer you can pray that just will remind you that Jesus is with you, even when you're like mopping your floor at home. It's like, God's with you. And he's like, yeah, mop that floor. like you're doing a good job. Like, take this filth, take the messiness and like make it orderly, because that's what God does. He takes disorder, turns into order, and we can do that no matter what we're doing.
It's just, I mean, it's an everyday call. You know, I think the church is every day. The calling of being a follower of Jesus is every day. And so I think when you can have reminders in your life and invite him into the everyday moments, a lot of things change. Like, I think I by no means have perfected that, or I sometimes flat out fail at it. But like at the end of the day, I desire, you know, when there is stress in my life, to just bring it to Jesus, not wait until quiet time, you know, and I have a dedicated time where I spend time with the Lord, but really that's become just more of my day, is just the little things. It's I get a text that I'm frustrated by, for something going on. And instead of just like sulking on it, like if I can just turn that text over to the Lord and just say, God, like this is frustrating to me, but I want you to lead me through this. And I want you to help me through this. I want you to help me think about that person the right way. The more often you do that, the more you're becoming like Jesus, the more you're allowing that process of, sanctification, a fancy word, growing over time and progressing over time to be more like him. Like then that process is taking root. The idea of the vine, you're attached to the vine. Like I've spent a lot of days away from the vine, or I've spent a moment in the morning thinking like, all right, I'm attached to the vine, yet the vine is nowhere to be found. you know?
Yeah. Oh man, I was going to say something. I forgot what it was.
Oh, that was going to be the title of the podcast episode.
It was going to be it. We were going to figure it out, and we were just going to go for it.
It was going to be the last episode of the podcast. Like, we solved it. Young adulthood.
We figured it out. Oh, I think it's like going back to that same thing of like, things aren't the way they are, you want them to be, and that's okay. Not in the sense of it's okay, like it's okay, don't worry about it, but the sense of like,
that fish. I always think of that fish. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry now.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. But like in the sense of like, don't worry, and like, hey, but God's still here.
Yeah.
Like when I'm made aware of something in my heart that's not good, I like want to hide from God because, oh my goodness, I am just so jacked up. I'm so this, I'm so that. And God's over here like, I knew that was there 10 years ago.
It's the Adam and Eve in the garden. They clothed themselves. They made, coverings out of leaves and figs, and then God asks, "Where are you?" Because not that he was confused, his GPS tracker, like, what's going on with this thing? No, he was asking, like, "Where are you in proximity to me? Like, where have you gone? You've hidden from me."
Yeah, and so it's like God's like, I was aware of that way before you were.
Yeah.
Like the reason you know about it now is because now I want to deal with it because we've dealt with all this other stuff. Now we can deal with this new thing. And he's like, but I was committed to you back then. Why do you think I love there's that song Faithful. Like there's so many songs about God that talk about his faithfulness. like, great is your faithfulness to me. And just remembering that if I was faithful when you were 18, when you first came to college, or if I was faithful at this point in your life, why am I going to give up now because you did this thing, or because you learned about something that I knew about all the time? I still want to help with that. And like, things aren't the way that you might want them to be. But so many of the things that Jesus called us to do, I come back to loving your enemies. Who's good at loving your enemies? Who's good at it? Who's good at really like, oh man, I just love this guy that I do not like, who
he
just
punches me, and
he like, and we're talking about, when we talk about it, we tend to talk about, on like the grand whole of people that I'm aware of, would talk about people where it's like they bother me, or maybe they're mean to me. But it's like, we have people where we're talking about like people are abusing them, or you go to some other countries where it's like the people where they say are our enemies actually want to kill us.
Yeah.
And Jesus said to love them. And it's like, who is good at that? None of us, unless we have him.
Right.
Like, none of us apart from him. Like, what does it look like to have joy even when everything is bad? Who's good at that? Like, I don't,
For sure.
no one's good at that, like on their own. But when Jesus is in the midst of that, and you choose to sow into that, it's like compounding interest, you know, like you put however much money in like an IRA at one point, and then it's like over time, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And then when you're like 70, it's like it compounds on top of itself. Whoever the financial experts out there are probably like, that's not quite right. But like, it's that same
concept.
idea.
Yeah.
The concept of it. Maybe my terms are incorrect, but in the same way, I think if we sow into and we say, I don't feel it, but I'm going to choose it. I don't feel like this, but I'm going to choose to do it. And I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
I am a person. I love, like, if I do feel something, that's when it's like boom, bam. But it gets difficult when it's like those feelings aren't there. And I think that's why, like, going back to something I said earlier, like sometimes I can get tripped out when like I don't feel this grand emotion. I'm like, does that mean that I'm not like the way I'm supposed? And it's like, no, just do it. Like, you know what's going on.
Right.
You know what you want. You know what is right. I was talking to one of our interns, Carly Wagner, about this very thing of just like, how do you pray when you don't like feel God? And she was like, I hardly ever like feel. And I was like, what? And she's like, it's not that big a deal.
Right.
It's not that big a deal. Like, you know, it's right. You know, God loves you. You know that he's there. Roll with it. And I'm like, that's like breaking my brain right now. And she's just like, whatever. Shout out to Carly. She's great. We are very sad, very happy that she's going to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Gonna rock it down there.
For sure. She is. Carly. But no, yeah, that's so good. I just think part of the hope of this podcast and like these conversations too is to show people like, hey, we're there too. You know, I think
100%.
That's part of the reason that I don't ever want this podcast to become like an expert sitting down telling people how to live, because I think we're just in the process and in the journey and in the adventure of what following Jesus is. And like, there's setbacks, there's confusion, there's disappointment, there's, you know, things that I'm anxious about, there's things that I'm worried about, there's things that I'm scared of, but there's also a lot of joy, especially in doing it with people, you know, in community. And I know for me, that's been one of the biggest things, is to invite other people into those stories and into that pain and into that confusion or whatever it is that you're feeling. You know, when other people can pray with you and just be with you, like, that's a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Well, hey, this has been fun.
100%.
I do have another question for you. I'm sure you know where this is headed, but if you were to give 20-year-old Ryan some advice, what would you tell him?
I mean, it's Brad's words when he was on here, just kind of ring in my ears still, of just like, don't stop wasting so much time, man.
Yeah.
Like, stop wasting so much time, and maybe don't freak out so much. Don't freak out so much. Like, everything is okay. Like, just that reminder to myself of like, where is your faith really? Like, put your faith in Jesus, and like, don't freak out so much, man. Like, everything is like, things will turn out better than you think they do, because God is the one who is there. So, yeah,
it's good. I've never freaked out in my life. So if you're
Wow, man.
just kidding.
That'll be the next episode. How do we not do that?
No, take you back to those episodes of that show that we did. And you can experience freakouts. Not the viewers, but I'll definitely have to try to link in. Do you have the video? So we did these together.
Yes.
And then after I kind of said I was leaving, you guys made like a final episode, and it was like a spoof video.
Yep.
And I need to see it again.
I have it,
but I can link it too.
Is.
I appreciate that. I'm excited
wonderful.
for that. Well, dude, I'm pumped just about what God's doing in your life. You're going to be an amazing dad. I know just seeing you and Britta, like there's a glow about you guys. Like I think stepping into the season is a beautiful thing. I think seeing your students rally around you at Valley City is going to be really fun in the season of life too. Like they haven't had the campus pastor and, family. Like they've had like Ryan and Britta, and I think it's just gonna be really cool. I think that was one of the most fun and beautiful things in my life was when Nate and Whitney had a Maya.
Yeah.
And I was just probably a sophomore or junior, and I like saw Nate and her interact, and I was like, I can't wait to be a dad. And I think that like changed something in my heart and sparked something in my heart that I don't take for granted with Kinsley now. I think about that a lot. So I'm pumped for you guys.
Yeah. One last anecdote, if I may, just to
give me all the anecdotes
to wrap this together on like talking about like, even just, I appreciate that so much. And, but like on the topic of not freaking out, on topic of Britta, when we first went on a date, it will be like 4 years ago this Friday.
Okay.
Our first date was Good Friday.
Wow.
It was not planned that way.
Yeah.
So I met this girl at her roommate's surprise birthday party, Abby Schoenig. Shout out to Abby. We're having a birthday party for Abby, and Britta was there. I'd never met Britta before. And I was just like, this is really a cute girl. She had a laugh like you wouldn't believe. It's wonderful. And a week later, like I interacted with her a few other times, and now I was just like, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to ask her out. I haven't dated anybody in like 2 years. Chi Alpha United. So it's Thursday night. I was just like, she like was leaving. She like parted away from all of her friends. I threw the keys to Clayton and said, go wait in the car. And I like ran after her real quick. I was just like, hey, like, I want to go on a date. And we're like, okay, like we're going to go see a movie tomorrow. We went out to a movie, and my plan was like, after the movie's done, we'll just like stay and chat till they kick us out.
Yeah.
And so we're chatting. I'm just like, what do you want to do? She's going to be a nurse. She's a nurse. And she was telling me why, and she was talking about like, the stories like with family members being sick, and just like the passion she had just for helping people. About like she was working in a nursing home at the time, and I was just like, okay, like this girl is amazing, and she's so cute. And like we were sitting in the movie the whole time, and I'm just sitting there just like, we saw I Can Only Imagine, and people were like, how was the movie? And I was like, I couldn't tell you, because the whole time I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm on a date right now. Like
I was gonna ask, like, what movie do you go to on Good Friday?
We saw I Can Only Imagine. So it was a Christian film. We watched it last week, actually. It was like celebrating our anniversary, because we were like, let's actually watch this movie. It's pretty good. We both cried. It was great. Great song too. And so then after the date, drop her off at home. We made plans to go to Shaky Mondays at Kroll's. Shout out Kroll's. And I drove away. And as soon as I started driving away, I started being like, I didn't feel like these big fireworks. Like in the movies, whenever the guy sees the girl and he's just like, and the music video starts playing, Celine Dion's in the background. And he's just like, oh my goodness. And so I started like kind of freaking out. Like, I made a second date. Should I do this? Because I didn't this and that. And then I had a call from my friend Chris, the only guy who knew. I didn't tell a lot of people I was going on a date, because, I was like, if we go on a few dates and it doesn't work out, I don't want it to be like embarrassing for her or for me that we're just like people are then like asking about stuff. But I was like, you tell your like a few close friends, keep you accountable, keep you to that. But I don't want to make it like public knowledge, just like for her. And so he calls me, like, how'd it go? And I was like, man, it was great. I like broke down the whole date, like all this other stuff. And he was like, but what? And I was like, Chris, I didn't like feel this. I was like, I expect like God didn't like give me a sign like this and this and that. And I kind of talk. And there's like 5 seconds of just like dead air. And he just goes, Ryan, do you think that your expectations were like realistic or fair to Britta? I'm like, no. And he goes, well, it sounds like you had a great time. Sounds like you really like her. Sounds like she's awesome. Go on a second date and stop thinking about this so much. And I was just like,
way to go, Chris.
I know, shout out to Chris. Chris told me he's getting married in July. And we hung up, and I went on a date to Shaky Mondays next Monday, and that was when I was like, I want to marry this girl. Because it was just like removing all of that, removing everything. And it's like, dude, like the emotions and the feelings come. They also go, though. They go depending on how hungry you are, how sleepy you are, how tired you are. But man, just pursue God and pursue people, and don't freak out so much. Walk through these things with people, walk these things with Jesus.
Pursue God, pursue people, and don't freak out so much.
There you go. That's the title right there.
Well, dude, I appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of this. And I know those of you watching, listening, we love to just hear how this podcast is helping you. So go over to the Instagram, goingsomewhere.podcast. Also, new website, goingsomewherepod.com. We'd love to have you join the conversation, ask questions, suggest guests, tell us how it's impacting you. So we appreciate you. Have a great Easter.
Yes.
And we love you. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Hanging out with Ryan is always a good time, and I always take something away. I'm always refreshed. I'm always encouraged. I think his perspective of being somewhat newly out of college yet remaining in that season, and just some of those challenges that come with that, the expectations that maybe aren't what he thought they would be, yet God is faithful in that season. And I can't help but imagine that many of you listening to this podcast today have had some sort of expectation that fell short, that you didn't quite meet the expectation. The experience wasn't what you expected. The season wasn't what you expected. Yet God can be faithful in your life and in your story as well. I am taking away something from this episode, that God is always making me into somebody, that I can continue to pursue him, to put him first, trusting that the person that he's making me into, it might not be perfect now. It might not be what I expected, but I can trust that he's going to continue to lead me. I know another thing that really stood out to me was just the conversation about friendship, that friendships change through seasons. That's just an inevitable part of life, and it can be a discouraging part of the young adult journey. Yet we can choose to pursue friendships that really build us up, and that we can build them up, and also just understand that sometimes it does change, and navigating that is difficult, but we can do that together. We can have those conversations together. So I don't know what your takeaway is today, but I hope that you're encouraged, that you're challenged, that coming into this Easter season, as you reflect of what Jesus has done, that you can just really take steps to just boldly follow him in your life in an everyday way, and know that there's a bunch of people on the other side of this podcast that are doing the same thing, that want the same thing. This is a community, and I'm so grateful that you are a part of it. And so, like we said before, join the conversation on Instagram, goingsomewhere.podcast, new website, goingsomewherepod.com. We'd love for you to check it out, make suggestions, join the conversation, just be a part of everything that's going on with this podcast. And as always, this is a Northview Church resource. And as you see, we're in the studio at Northview, so we so appreciate their support of this podcast and just the commitment to raising up young adults who love Jesus, who love their neighbors, who love this world, and live for him in a dynamic way. So, hey, we'll see you next week. God bless you. Love you. Happy Easter.